Hi there, and welcome along to the Gersnet Podcast, the totally free and independent Rangers show which is made by fans for fans, and where champions content is always absolutely free. It's episode 133 tonight. My name's Ross Bennett. I'll be your Gersnet Podcast host. It's just gone 9:30 on Sunday, the 4th of April, so happy Easter to everyone who's listening. If you're joining us live tonight on YouTube, then please do let us know your thoughts and your comments on today's game. Thank you very much for giving up your Sunday evening to join us, but you've not got work in the morning, so it's not that big a deal, is it? If you're not listening live, the podcast is always available for download from a Monday morning, and that's available on iTunes, Acast, YouTube, Castbox, Stitcher, and also Spotify. If there's anywhere else where you get your podcasts, I'm sure you can find us there as well. And remember, it's not just the podcast that we have here at Gersnet, but if you head over to the website at www.gersnet.co.uk, you can also find all the excellent content that we have there, including match previews and reviews, lots of articles, a history archive, and a very, very friendly discussion forum where you can find all of your Gersnet podcast contributors, including myself and tonight's guest. It's just the two of us tonight, but do not fear. He is the Sultan of Staunch, and he will always provide you with excellent content. It's Colin Armstrong. Colin, how are you?
I'm very well, Ross. How are you?
I'm good. Have you had a lot of chocolate and Easter goodies?
I'm not big on the chocolate. I have the odd bit of chocolate now and again, but I'm more of a crisps kind of guy. So if it was crisps you got at Easter, I would have a rare tear, but it's chocolate. So a nice leg of lamb today, though, must admit. Nice leg of lamb and a wee glass of red. So yeah, that was good.
Excellent. I thought you were going to make a comment about you don't get a body like this by eating chocolate, but you were.
Oh, you do. You do get a body like this eating chocolate. or crisps in my case.
And it's okay that the camera sort of only catches you from here up, so from there up you're looking fine.
I'm still doing my running, so I'm all right.
That's the thing. I know
I lost a bit of weight before Christmas, but it's back on now.
That's a shame. I know you like your five-a-side football, which is obviously sort of panned during these COVID times. So I'm glad to see that you're keeping in shape.
Well, I'm trying. You know, when you get to a certain age, it becomes harder, Ross. You know, you've got that joy to look forward to.
I wouldn't know. I'm getting. You know what? We've tipped into April now, so I'm now 6 months away from turning 30. And I'm starting to think about that. You know,
that's when it all goes downhill. That's a turning point.
I don't know if it can go downhill much more than it already has, to be honest.
When you're 2 years off 50, you'll come back and tell me that I was right.
Fair enough. That's you going for 55 soon enough. Right, we're not here to wallow in despair about the state of our personal lives and bodies. We're here to talk about Rangers. It's quite an odd one for us, actually, because the game only finished about 25 minutes ago, it feels like. So, a Sunday evening kickoff at 6:30. I don't know if we thought that was a good idea, but catering for the TV cameras, if you can call Premier Sports a TV channel, it was okay today. But 6:30 on a Sunday is hardly ideal when you've got a podcast kicking off at 9:30. So we'll do our best. We maybe don't have as much preparation as we usually do, but we're very, very knowledgeable about Rangers, so we should be fine. So Colin, Cove Rangers today at Ibrox, the first time that we've had a competitive game against them, led by the I think universally adored Paul Hartley. And first thing to say, I think, is that the starting lineup comes out and fairly heavy rotation, but still quite a strong squad. What did you make of the starting 11 today?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all expected a wee bit of rotation, but I think we talked about this on Friday, myself and Alex, you know who would come in and who wouldn't. I still think Gerrard's stung a wee bit for St Mirren, you know what I mean? And I think he diluted the quality of the squad too much that night when we paid a price. So yeah, I mean the main one I wanted to see getting game time today was Scott Wright, and he got that. I thought Simpson would have made an appearance. We were surprised not to see him in the starting lineup, but I think Gerrard, answered that question. I think he rolled his ankle through the week and missed a couple of days training, so he wasn't available. So it's a shame for him, because I think he would have got some decent game time today. So yeah, good to get to see boys getting some game time and getting a runabout. But I also think, the league's done 4 weeks ago. You know what I mean? That's how easy it's been. It was a month ago the night that we won it. And a bonus would be to go the season undefeated and all that kind of thing. The Europa Leagues went, that went in the last round. So the main focus now is the Scottish Cup. So I think Gerrard was right to put a stronger team than maybe we would have expected out there, just to make sure that we got the job done. And if you get it done fairly quickly, you can start to introduce boys in the second half, and that's what he done. So yeah, I'm a wee bit surprised that Simpson wasn't there, but that was explained. Happy with 11 and happy with the way the team performed today. I thought they were outstanding today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing that struck me about the starting 11 was that it was definitely in some areas a sort of second string or a slightly weaker than it might have been. Still some, so Connor Goldson, Philip Hollander, Glenn Kamara, some very, very strong and established first team players there. The thing that struck me was the number of players who have only just returned from international duty.
Yeah.
Philip Hollander, Glenn Kamara, Yanis Hadji coming on, one or two others who have been away with their national team, John McLaughlin, been away with the national team and come straight back in and slot in and didn't look out of place at all. And okay, sure, you're up against a part-time team who maybe won't have the same fitness levels as you'd expect in the Premiership. But even with the rotation today, it was still a very, very strong squad. And you're right, that probably does hark back a wee bit to St Mirren a few months ago. And Steven Gerrard, having not won the Scottish Cup, is clearly showing a lot of respect to this competition.
Yeah.
Europa League's gone. It's no secret that this is the aim now, and he's going to treat every single round with respect. But you're right, performance-wise, very professional, very encouraging, and very pleasing. I thought particularly at the start, first 10-15 minutes was very fast, very tenacious. A couple of instances where a ball across the face from Scott Wright and Defoe could add a tap in, Kamar Roof hits the post. Were you impressed with that kind of ferocity that we came out of the blocks with?
Yeah, I mean, it was all nice one and two touch stuff as well. Lots of give and goes, lots of movement off the ball. I mean, you have to apply the context of who we're playing. It's Cove Rangers, who are League One, and so yeah, we're going to be stronger than them. We're going to be fitter than them. We're going to be quicker than them, especially when you take into consideration they've only played, I think, 14 games this season. Their season has been heavily curtailed with the COVID stuff, so you kind of expect us to be a level above them. But you can be a level above and just go out there and go through the motions and get the result. The way they played it reminded me of how we were sort of playing sort of around about October, November, December time. We were really nice 1-2 touch stuff, blowing teams away, and that's kind of slipped away a wee bit, sort of post Christmas and into the new year. Again, I know it's only Cove Rangers, and you expect to beat these teams, but the way we went about it, I mean, I joked to my son. I was like, towards the end, I was like, "How many shots have we had in goal today?" Even in the second half, towards the end, it felt like every 2-3 minutes, we were having a shot over the bar, or the keeper's making a save, or getting a corner. And it was just relentless. So it was good to see, and as I said, it's good to see that with the likes of Wright. I thought Wright was outstanding today, and he's impressed me since he's came to the club, and I've wanted to see him get a start. I wanted to see him get a goal today, but that wasn't to be. But yeah, very, very impressive performance. Just at a tempo that the guys just could live with. You know what I mean? They were chasing shadows for large chunks of the game, and you would maybe have to give them a wee bit of praise for their second half performance, because there's every chance that could have been 6, 7, 8 today. You know what I mean? But I mean, we were quite wasteful in the second half, but they also defended quite well. I thought, they got a few blocks in and all that kind of stuff. So you have to give them some praise. Although Paul Hartley's still a prick, you know what I mean? I think we can all agree on that. But no, second half you would have to give them it. They were professional enough, because I did think last 15-10 minutes, the fact that they've not had a huge amount of football recently would start to play in things, and maybe nick another couple of goals, but that wasn't to be. So yeah, great performance. I thought, I mean, they did start well, but I thought all through the game we looked really, really good. A wee bit wasteful in the second half, but we're in the next round, and we all know what's waiting for us there.
Aye, exactly, that's it. And I think the word that we probably used for today is professional. Certainly the word that Gerrard has used in his Rangers TV post-match interview is it was a professional performance, and that's probably summed us up this season, is very, very professional. Yeah. I think you're right that second half maybe a wee bit wasteful, but credit to them, last-ditch blocks, and they didn't seem to tire maybe in the way that we thought that they would, and maybe we didn't really seem to ease off. It just never really clicked in the final third in the second half. But one wee word as well for the Cove Rangers lad who's gone down injured. Apparently, it doesn't look like a very pleasant one, and I think it's his birthday tomorrow. Grown up a Rangers fan, so no nice thing for him, but. Some wonderful shots of Mr. Hartley sat on the bench. Absolutely, he wasn't happy looking. He was good. And
I think I love the fact that when he was sitting on the dugout, right in front of him in the Govan stand was that big banner on the seat saying "Champions 55" and all that kind of. He must have been spewing. You know what I mean? Get it right up him. That's what I say.
That's a bitter face, isn't it? Listen, the breakthrough came maybe a wee while after it should have done, because we had a lot of chances in the first 15, 20 minutes. But a wonderful, lovely, lovely strike from Jermaine Defoe, who's that's taken him to 30 goals in his Rangers career. And he's been here a couple of years now. But for any striker to get to 30 goals at this club, considering the limited game time that he's had coming off the bench and playing maybe games like today when the squad has a lot of rotation, to get to 30 goals, I think it's actually pretty impressive at his stage of his career. How would you assess the impact that Defoe has had over the last couple of seasons? Has he kind of achieved what he was brought in to achieve?
I mean, I would imagine, I think every player, regardless of their age, wants more game time. And I think he will be quite frustrated. But I think you're right. I had to take a double take when I think it was Rory Hamilton doing the commentary today. I'm sure he said 30 goals and 67 appearances. And I actually texted my mate, and I thought, did he just say 30 goals and 67 appearances? He's like, oh, I never heard that. I think his house was a madhouse with the Waynes and all that running about, so he couldn't hear the commentary. I was like, that's an incredible strike rate for a guy 38 years old who doesn't get a huge amount of minutes. I would like to see how many minutes he goes, per goal kind of thing. It can't be a huge amount of time, you know what I mean? Because he only comes on, he tends to get game time in games like this, against lower league opposition. Occasionally gets a game, and league games comes on here and there. Not a huge amount of minutes, but 30 goals and 67 appearances. I think that tells you everything you need to know about the guy. I think he's vegan. Is that right? I think he's vegan, teetotal, all that kind of thing. So he applies himself to his craft. You know what I mean? He's totally committed to making himself the best version of himself. And it shows. But I think another thing with Defoe is what he does behind the scenes. And we'll never know what that is, but you get the strong impression that he does a lot behind the scenes, and I mean, it must be good for, someone like Patterson, for example, who's he, 19, 20 years old, sharing a dressing room with someone like, Jermaine Defoe, who he'll have watched, on Sky and all the rest of it when he was growing up. You can't help but be impressed with that and follow his example and follow his lead and see what he's doing that's made him the sort of player that he is today. So, yeah, he's doing a lot behind the scenes. I think he's been good for Morelos. I don't think there's any sort of hiding that. I think he's really helped Morelos develop his game and maybe take that wee sort of edge off him. The sort of daft stuff he gets involved in. So, yeah, I think they were having a discussion today about whether he should get another year. I always look at the value for money side of it. It depends on, his salary and all that kind of thing. But if it's reasonable terms, I would be quite happy for him to be there for another year, because if he's not doing something on the park, then he's helping behind the scenes. So, yeah, I'd be happy to see him stay.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, because he's not getting minutes. We don't know what he's doing behind the scenes. I imagine, given his kind of career to date and the clubs he's played for, I think he'll be on a fairly punchy salary. Obviously, I have no idea what it'll be, but I imagine it's towards the top end. Are you getting value for money from that? Hard to say when we don't know what goes on at the training ground.
Well, on the park, you would have to say no, questionably. You're not getting the minutes out of him. You're getting when he's playing, you're getting the goals, but he's not playing enough to justify a huge salary. So it does depend what he's doing behind the scenes. And if Steven Gerrard judges that he's doing enough behind the scenes to warrant another deal, I'd be happy for him to stay, because I always go back. I think I've mentioned this before on the show. There was an interview with Graham Souness years ago when he was the Rangers manager, and he was talking about Ray Wilkins, and he said he was getting more off from Ray Wilkins off the park than he was on it. And I was only like 14, 15 at the time. I was like, how does that work? You know what I mean? But as you get older, you start to appreciate what he's talking about, and he's just talking about what he does in and around the dressing room and how he conducts himself and the example he sets and what he does for other players. So there is that part of it. You know what I mean? Some players will come in and just focus on themselves and not say very much. And there's other guys that come in and really get behind the whole dressing room and the squad and help people out. So it looks like Defoe's the latter, you know what I mean? And he's setting an example for other people in that dressing room. So again, it's you don't know what budget's available because of the COVID situation. Obviously, we might have Champions League next season, but depending on the budget and what sort of salary we'd be looking for, it's always dependent on value for money. But if the club view it as it's worthwhile doing, then I would be happy to see him there, because he's doing a job, you know what I mean, both on and off the park.
The thing is, he's scoring some lovely goals. You know, the goal at Livingston earlier in the season, and the goal today was stunning. And it's funny because he missed some incredibly easy chances.
Yeah.
And then he goes and drills that in the bottom corner from 25 yards.
I was actually shouting at him when he went to shoot, because I don't know, I think it was Roof.
Aye.
It was either Roof or Arfield. Someone was on the right hand side who looked like if he just plays them in, they're in. I'm screaming, what you do? All right, okay, fair enough. Right. No arguments.
It's one of those. I mean, their defensive backing off him so much. I mean, if I was their manager, firstly I'd be gutted because I'm Paul Hartley. But if I was their manager,
and you'd look like you need a good wash. You know what I mean?
I'd be furious at that defending, because you're like, guys, you can't be surprised at this guy taking a shot on, you know, number of caps he's got, number of goals over his career. Why are you giving him space 20 yards out front and centre of the goal? But
there's also a bit of that, you know, as a defender, you'll go, on you go, mate. You know what I mean? You're not going to do anything for there. All right.
that makes sense when it's League One and you're playing Airdrie or Falkirk or whoever, but not Defoe. Anyway, look, we're not here to talk about their defence. It's a funny one with Defoe, because I think a lot of whether he'll get that contract or not obviously comes down to budgets, of course, but trying to anticipate the minutes that he'll get next season will partially deal with, or be related to, I suppose, what's going to happen to Morelos this summer, and trying to anticipate if this is the summer that he gets his move. And it's easy for us to say probably, but we've said probably for 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah, I'm fed up. I'm fed up trying to speculate what's happening, because I've said every year we've done this that he'll be away in the summer.
Exactly. So it's that's one of the factors. The other factor is Kemar Roof, who we'll come on to talk about him in just a second. But if Kemar Roof cannot stay fit to do a whole season, can we afford to get rid of Jermaine Defoe? We'd need to bring someone else in to replace him. And can you necessarily replace someone who's scoring in 50% of the games that they appear in? It's a difficult one. I think Kemar Roof today showed a lot of hunger, a lot of drive, a lot of appetite, and obviously picked up 2 goals, kind of poacher's efforts. 14 goals, again, the commentary team was sort of providing me with all the stats today, but 14 goals for him this season, and what has been a very, very interrupted season because of his injuries this season. How important do you think this guy could be if we can keep him fit next year?
I seriously doubt. I think he's another version of Ryan Jack. You know what I mean? I just think it's in him. It's part of his makeup. You know what I mean? I think it's a similar issue. Is it not always his calf? One of his calves that go. So it just looks like that's part of his genetic makeup, that he's going to play a certain amount of games and then be out for a certain amount of games. I don't think Steven Gerrard strikes me as a shrewd character, and I don't think he would gamble on expecting to get a huge amount of games out of Kemar Roof. I think he knows that he's going to miss a few games. So if Morelos is going in the summer, I don't think Defoe is enough, nowhere near enough. You know what I mean? I don't think you can go with him week in, week out at 38-year-old. So I think we would need to find a replacement, because Eaton, I like Eaton. He's a good player, and I think there's a future for him at Rangers. But I don't think he's quite ready yet to lead the line. So you would have to try and go out and find a proven goal scorer. See the amount of chances we've missed today, and I've said this a few times this season. This will sound harsh, and I don't mean it to be harsh, but there's an argument to say that the front line is the weakest part of our team, because the amount of chances we create, we don't. How many chances did we miss today? You know what I mean? It always feels to me, I'm saying to myself, see if we properly click, we are going to give one team a right doing, a proper 6-7-0 job.
Well, we did with Hamilton.
Hamilton, right? But I'm talking about, if everybody gives Hamilton a doing every now and again, you know what I mean? But I'm talking about like a top 6 team. We're going to give someone a proper scudding, because the way we play and the amount of chances we create, I don't think that quite yet we're getting the amount of goals at that front three. Kent's chipped in recently, but over the season, I don't think he's chipped in quite enough. Morelos came to the fore recently, but he was sort of struggling a wee bit earlier on. Roof's in there, but then he's out. You know what I mean? So I was looking at that game today thinking, imagine Chris Boyd in that penalty box. he'd have scored about 7 today. You know what I mean? The amount of time Scott Wright was getting to that byline and Patterson was getting to that byline and cutting the ball back. You're just sitting there. If Chris Boyd was in that box, he would have scored for fun today. And I think somebody, a striker like that, you know, a natural finisher, the way we create chances would score for fun in that team. So if Morelos does go, it's something we'll need to do. We'll need to find someone who fits into that team, because I think if we find the right player, we'll have a field day in that team. And you would have to say that Roof is having a field day. He doesn't play a lot of the times, but when he does play, he scores a lot of goals. So yeah, it's if we get a proper Ali McCoy 30 goals a season type striker in that penalty box, for the amount of chances that we're creating, we'll score for fun.
Well, looking at the stats of the Scottish Premiership this season, Roof is of anyone who's scored more than 4 goals, Roof has the best minutes per goal ratio. Yeah. He's scoring every 115 minutes, which is excellent. You know, it's almost one a game when you factor in stoppage time and things like that. So it's a tough one.
He's not consistent enough. You know, after 5 or 6 games, he's going to be injured again. You know, and it seems to me that's plagued his career, and it's maybe something that's curtailed his career. It's maybe something you could maybe say those stats would point to a move to a bigger club, but they're not going to invest if they're not going to get the minutes and the games out of him. So that's maybe why he's operating at the level that he's operating.
But I think we could be in danger of coming across as overly critical here, and we're coming off the back of a 4-0 victory today. And I suppose, again, if you're the Cove Rangers manager, you get to 2-3, 4-0 down, and your tactic becomes throw your body in the way of the shot. Do not let it get to 5, 6, 7, 8 goals. That's it, and that's what they've done. And
I think if any team goes in at 4-0 down at half time, all you do is try and win the second half.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's it. You accept that the game's gone. It's just like, right, okay, we just go out and try and either draw the second half or win the second half, you know, and nick a goal. So that's how they done it. And you did have to give them some credit. They defended pretty well, but I thought we were quite wasteful. The amount of chances that we created were hot knife through butter at times. You know, it was a joy to watch. Again, I need to put the context in that it's Cove Rangers and they're League One side, but it was a joy to watch at times the way we were cutting them up.
It was really enjoyable to watch. You've mentioned Scott Wright again. We'll come on to talk about him in a moment. I thought he was instrumental in a lot of that, but someone else that I really enjoyed watching today was Nathan Patterson. And again, maybe it took 5, 10, 15 minutes to form into the game, but Patterson, I thought, was outstanding today, and he chipped in getting the 4th goal of the game. Yes, honking defending from the boy who plays a slack pass across his own 18-yard line, which is, you know, you're 6, 7 years old at school being told not to do that. But Patterson, I thought he showed good hunger, good pace, and bravery to actually nick that ball away and slot it behind the keeper, because he knew he could get a clattering off the goalkeeper there. I think in the style that Patterson's been playing, and the goal that he scored today, and then thinking back to the goal that he scored against Antwerp a month, 2 months ago, is it clear, you think, from the style that he's playing, that he's really been learning from Tavernier? He certainly seems to be a full-back in Tavernier's own mould.
Yeah, he's similar to Tavernier. You know, he comes forward, and you know, he's got good delivery. He's attacking's as much a part of his game as he's defending. I thought he had a difficult couple of games against Prague, I must admit, but that's a good test for him. You know, that's when he does his learning. You know, what is he, 19? Is he 19? So, you know, he's 19, he's coming in. A lot of 19-year-olds would come into a game against Cove Rangers in the Scottish Cup and think, oh my God, I'm playing for Rangers, and, you know, maybe find the occasion a bit daunting. You know, he's now settling into those type of games, because he's played in bigger games, and he's played in the Europa League and stuff like that. So it's all part of his development. He's learned how to do these things that a game against Cove Rangers at Ibrox probably seems fairly routine to him now. And he doesn't look like a young boy who's just broke into the team. You know, he looks settled. But I think who was it today? I think it was McInnes that said, you know, he's got a job in his hands shifting Tav. You know, once Tav's fit, you know, you would have to say that he'll need to take a back seat again. But Tav's what, 29, 30, you know,
yeah, 28, 29, yeah.
Yeah, so he just needs to, knuckle down and take his opportunity when he gets it and see where it takes him. But the early signs and the early indications are that, we've got a ready-made replacement for Tav there, because he is very similar. He gets up and down that flank, good delivery. The amount of times he got to that byline a day and cut it across, and it just seemed to bypass everybody. Rangers players, Cove players, everybody just watching. Somebody just come in and hit that. But no, he started his Rangers career well. COVID stuff aside, obviously, he made a proper arse of that, I think. And he maybe it could have cost him, it might have cost him his Rangers career. But hopefully he's learned for that as well, and that's a wee learning curve from off the park in terms of how he needs to conduct himself as a Rangers player. So yeah, it's all been good. And, he's 19-year-old, he's sharing a dressing room with Jermaine Defoe and his manager, Steven Gerrard. You know what I mean? It's not bad for a 19-year-old, is it? You know what I mean? You can't really complain at that. I would take that and I'm 48. You know what I mean?
It's a strange one. I really like him, and I think he fits into the style of play really well. Like I say, I think he takes 15 minutes to warm into a game. I think that was the case against Antwerp. I think that was definitely the case when he came on at half-time against Celtic. He took a few minutes, just came on after half-time, took a few minutes to warm into it. But when he does, I think he doesn't look out of place. And for a 19-year-old, you look at the games that he's been in, today is the first time, again, it's Scottish Cup, so you're not going to say it's not a big game. Almost every other game that he's played in has been a massive game for Rangers. Europa League against Antwerp, Europa League against Sparta, and then the Premiership, where we are counting down the minutes to winning the title, knowing that every point could be the point that takes us to the league. Those are massive games. We then win the league, and the first game that he gets to play for Rangers in the league with no pressure is the Old Firm. So every game that he's played has been massive. It'd be lovely for him to be able to play Kilmarnock with no pressure, but he's done so well to kind of to slot in and not show any disillusionment or any fear, I suppose. I think my question, Colin, is what do we do for Nathan to make sure that he doesn't follow the path of Glenn Middleton and Ross McCrory, who over the last 3 or 4 seasons of doing this podcast, we've sat here and we've talked those two boys up massively when they first come through, only to kind of be left wanting a little bit. Their development doesn't take on the way that it should, and they find themselves kind of being forced out of the club. How do we make sure that doesn't happen again with Patterson?
I don't know if it's an exact science, Ross. I really don't. I think, the club will invest in players and do what they think's best for them at that particular time and give them game time and introduce them to the first team. And then it's down to, how it goes for there, how the individual reacts, and probably a wee bit of luck involved in it as well. You know what I mean? I always thought, Chris Burke was a good player, but I thought he was quite lucky. I thought he played in a poor Rangers team, towards the end of McLeish's time. And that allowed him to get in at that particular time. 2 or 3 years before that, you've got De Boer and, McCann, and there's no chance he's getting into that team. The quality of the squad that came down considerably by the time McLeish is there. That gives him his chance. And that helps his career, and helps him to go on. And he had a fairly decent career once he left Rangers, Chris Burke. So there's loads of things sort of play a part in all this. And Steven Gerrard, Michael Beale, and all the rest of them will do what they think's best for Nathan Patterson. But I don't think it's an exact science. You just do the best you can by the boys, and then hope that they react. You know what I mean? And I think that's something I would have to say. I know Scott Wright's a wee bit older, and he's 22, 23, but it looks like he's reacted to signing for Rangers. You know what I mean? It looks like his game has stepped up. His body shape is totally different. I think he's put on like 4 kilo in muscle. You can see that he's thought, this is a big opportunity and I'm going to take it with both hands. I'm going to grab it. So that's part of it's luck, part of it's down to the player reacting, and part of it is there a place available in the squad for those guys to get a game? So, Patterson can take all the advice from Steven Gerrard and go in there and work hard every single day, and Tav could just be performing at a level that means he's not really going to get an opportunity for a good few years. He might end up becoming frustrated and say, you know what, I need to move on to get football. I think that's what happened with McCrory. You know what I mean? I just think McCrory was becoming, I need first team football. You know what I mean? And that's it. Middleton, I have to say, he started well, but I always had my doubts about Middleton. He was a bit hot and cold. I always I didn't know if he quite had enough to be a Rangers player. I did with McCrory. I just think with McCrory there was better players in front of him, and he wanted first team football, and you just have to accept that. You know what I mean? That's just the way it goes. So I don't think we can avoid it. I think all we can do is trust Steven Gerrard and his coaching team to do what they can with Nathan Patterson, and then see what it takes. Is, you know, it looks like the player's reacting. You know, it looks like he's enjoying it. Hopefully, he's learned his lesson for the party and the COVID stuff, and then you just see what happens. But if Taff comes back next season fit and is playing at that level, it's going to be very, very hard to find game time for him. You know what I mean? And then it's about, well, how long is he prepared to put up for that? If he's operating at a level where he thinks he should be getting game time, how long is he prepared to wait for it?
Yeah, I mean, I think thankfully he's grown up in a Rangers staffed family who will ensure that he sticks around, but you just don't know. So we've got Scott Wright, Nathan Patterson, Calvin Bassey. Let's sort of bracket them as the three younger lads who have come in today, and I think all three of them done very, very well. Calvin Bassey as well. I mean, he looks like an absolute unit, and I thought he shows good pace, he shows good strength, he shows good awareness. Again, he's kind of a fullback in the right Rangers mould at the moment. So a lot of potential there for that boy. With those three, you know, now that the league is won, do you expect to see them featuring a little bit more in the run-in? Or do you think, given the way that the Premiership works in the split and that our next 5 fixtures are against the 5 hardest teams in the league, do you think that actually will revert to what we know when everyone's fit, and we'll go with Borna, Tav, you know, Hadji and Kent instead of Wright?
I mean, I think he'll try and mix it up a wee bit, but again, it comes back to St Mirren. You know what I mean? I think I saw a guy today questioning the team, and someone came back with a good point saying, you know, the Scottish Cup's the main priority now. It would be nice to finish the season undefeated, but that's the icing on the cake. That's not the cake itself. You know, that would be a nice wee thing to finish the season off. But if we finish the season undefeated, but we didn't win the Scottish Cup, I'd probably be a wee bit disappointed with that. I want another trophy. If we win the Scottish Cup and don't finish the season undefeated, I'll be happy with that. So, and I think Steven Gerrard will view it the same way. So I think there's a chance that he might look at the league games as the bigger opportunity to rotate the squad and bring some boys in and get them game time, and focus on getting as strong a team as they can together for the Scottish Cup games, because it's all about trophies. You know what I mean? We've not won that Scottish Cup. Me and Alex were talking about this on Friday. We've not won the Scottish Cup 2009, 12 years ago or something like that. You know what I mean? It's far too long. And that game against Hibs still pisses me off. So, yeah, Scottish Cup. Got to get the Scottish Cup because it's far too long. And I just want to see another trophy. It would be nice to wrap the season off with a double. So, yeah, I can't remember who it was, but the person that put that point over the day saying, you know, the league games provide a better opportunity to mix and match the squad, get boys in for game time, and then come the Scottish Cup games, put your best 11 out there, especially in the next game. You know what I mean? The next game in the Cup's crucial. You know, we get through that, and I think who's it we can get in the round after it?
Well, that's sort of the question I was going to do a wee joke and sort of spoil it there. So thank you for that. I was going to say.
I didn't know.
Right, no, right. We'll move on. We'll start talking about looking ahead in the Scottish Cup, because you're right. That is what we have to play for. And in terms of trophies, you're right. Invincible's icing on the cake. Although I imagine actually the commercial department of Rangers is probably thinking, I can flog a fair bit of Invincible merch here.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the ideal scenario is we win the Scottish Cup and we go the season undefeated.
Aye, exactly.
If you're prioritising, then I'd rather have the Scottish Cup. Thanks very much.
Exactly. No, I agree. I completely agree. So yes, let's sort of look ahead. The draw was done just before we kicked off today's draw for the next round, and it's not something we can avoid talking about. I suppose that professional performance did what I had to do today. I guess the question, Colin, is: would you prefer St Johnstone or Clyde?
Was that your joke?
That was my wee joke. Yeah, totally spoiled. Bye.
Not at all. No, seamless, Ross. Seamless. No one. I don't think anyone spotted it at all. I would rather have. Who's that? St Johnstone or who?
St Johnstone or Clyde? Is it Clyde? I think it's Clyde.
Clyde. I'd rather have Clyde. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. No, Celtic at home next round, which I think will give us 2 Old Firms in 2 or 3 weeks, something like that. Both of which will be at home. We were not at our best, I think it's fair to say, when we went to Parkhead a couple of weeks back. Got a decent enough result, kept the unbeaten run going, frustrated them again. You'd expect us to perform a little bit better, I think, knowing what's at stake in the cup, being at home, having a wee bit of a scare in the last game. Are you going into that with confidence?
Well, in my lifetime, games against Celtic in the Scottish Cup, if we get them, it tends to be if we get them earlier in the tournament, they win. And when we got them in the semi-final and final, we tended to win. Obviously, there's exceptions to that rule, but overall, that's been my experience of sort of supporting Rangers. So I was a wee bit nervous about that. I thought, anytime we get them early in the tournament, they tend to put us out. But you've got to view it as an opportunity to. I mean, their season is ruined anyway. It's an absolute. It's a mess. It's an absolute disaster, and the opportunity to just make it even worse is a pleasing one. That would be. I mean, it's 2 weeks tonight, and it's like 17th April or something like that. So, I mean, to have them absolutely no trophies at all by the 17th of April, and we've been directly responsible for 2 of those. It would be another riot at Parkhead, wouldn't it? There would be more sharps getting chucked about outside Celtic Park. So, aye, that's the way you've got to look at it. I think you've got to look at it in a positive manner and say we've got an opportunity to really sort of piss their season right off, because it's a mess already. They're already. I've noticed recently they're calling the league the Pandemic Cup. As if it never mattered. We weren't really that bothered this year. It's a Pandemic Cup. No one cares about it this year. Aye, okay, right, that's fine. And to absolutely just completely ruin their season would be great. But it would. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, if they were to beat us, then it kind of doesn't ruin the season, because we've achieved the main goal. We've won the league. And nothing's going to change that. That's in the bag. But it would maybe just put my experience is if normally you don't play, you've not won the league by the 3rd round, 4th round of the Scottish Cup, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So it's normally towards the end. So if you've won the league and then you go out to the cup in the semi-final or the final, it just puts a wee dampener on the season. You know what I mean? You're just like, just dampens it a wee bit. But aye, you've got to look at it from a positive perspective and say this is an opportunity. And I think, we've got a wee bit of a number on them now. It's been a while since they beat us. Yeah. We didn't play well in the last game. Didn't play particularly well at the game at Ibrox. Yeah. So we've got 2 or 3 years to go up. So, aye, bring it on.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this international break that we've just had, and to a degree coming back and playing Cove Rangers, which has not overexerted the players. We all seem to have got through that injury-free. That's been a good thing for us, because we were looking a bit leggy and a bit fatigued and a bit worn down from the kind of relentless pursuit of 55 and the Europa, which was week after week after week. So let's take the next, I think, what is it, St John's, Hibs next weekend. Let's kind of use that to get back up to speed and then kind of go into this all guns blazing 2 weeks today. I think what's good from our perspective here is that both teams, both Celtic and Rangers, stand to gain the same. Obviously, we're both in to win the Scottish Cup, but they've got a hell of a lot more to lose than we do in this.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So and we've seen that this season, when they come under a bit of pressure, when they come under a bit of scrutiny, as we've been saying it for years and years, when someone can finally challenge Celtic and put them under a bit of pressure, let's see how they react. And they did not react well. So, they've got. I
mean, you could maybe argue that. I mean, their last throw of the dice was probably the game at Ibrox in January before they went to Dubai, and they had a good sort of 20, 25 minutes. I mean, the narrative for that game is they dominated it. When I rewatched it, and first 25 minutes they had, a couple of opportunities. That save from McGregor, that's really the last real opportunity that they have. You know what I mean? Everything else is after that is wee kind of half chances. You know what I mean? And we upped it in the second half, and I thought the second half was a wee bit more eachy peachy, a bit more level. Yeah. So, aye, if we can play the way we played against them in October at Celtic Park, where we totally bossed them. Then you'd have to say we're in a good chance. You know what I mean? It's at Ibrox. We're a better team than them, by a good amount of points. So aye, bring it on.
Absolutely, bring it on. Okay, fantastic. Well, look, before we move on, let me quickly just bring in a mention of one of our partners here at Gersnet, which is footballprizes.co.uk. who are running another excellent competition. This time it's to win a framed Rangers shirt signed by Stephen Davis, who's obviously just taken over the record as the British all-time international cap holder. I was always very nicely presented. All you have to do is head over to their website at footballprizes.co.uk, navigate through the competitions to find the Rangers shirt and purchase a ticket. I checked it just before we came live on air. There are only 17 tickets left out of 99, so you do need to be quick. So either head over to their website at footballprizes.co.uk or to the Gersnet social media pages, and you can get the direct link to that competition. Colin, we've rambled on for a good wee while about the game today, which is always very enjoyable. But a couple of other bits and pieces that have been going on throughout the week. Obviously, there's been a lot of chat about Alan McGregor getting a new contract. We might come on to that in a moment. But one player who also signed up for another year and maybe hasn't had quite the same media buzz around it is Leon Balogun. Now, Leon Balogun obviously come in as a free signing this season. Speaks very, very well about the club. Always kind of represents the club nicely in the media, talking about how he can't wait to get the fans back in, and seems to have genuinely enjoyed his first year at Ibrox. He struggled, I think, moving to right back in the absence of Tav, and it's probably right that he was dropped for Patterson. With him sticking around for another year, where do you think that he'll fit into the pecking order of centre-halves? I don't see him coming back to right back at all. But in terms of centre-halves, when we've got, presuming that Goldson, Hollander, Edmondson and Katic are all Rangers players next season, where does Balogun fit into that?
Well, I mean, it depends on the movement and who comes and who goes, but I would imagine it would be much the same. I think on that side, Gerrard views it very much horses for courses. I actually think Hollander's the better player. I think he's a better defender. I think he anticipates things a bit better. I think in games where I think Gerrard sees the threats a wee bit more in behind and a bit more speed, I think that's where he uses Balogun, because Balogun's he's a better recovery player, and I think that's how Gerrard uses him. It's horses for courses. So I think that'll continue. You know what I mean? Simpson's just on loan now, isn't he?
No, Simpson.
Simpson will be there as well. So yeah, it's this thing that Gerrard spoke about before. Competitions for places, and you'd have to say it's worked. It's took him 3 years to get there, but he's managed to bring a quality player in for every position. But players need to be at their absolute best, and the majority of the players, in that team have to accept that they're not going to play every week. You know what I mean? They're going to get a certain amount of games, and then they're going to have to sit out. And then to get back in that team, they need to work really hard. So competitions for places has worked. You know what I mean? And I think it's testament to how Gerrard operates as a manager. I think he's obviously a very sort of honest and frank individual, and I think he'll say to players, look, if you show me your best every day in training, you'll get your opportunity. And that's it. You know what I mean? And I think that's why you've not had a huge amount, because there's been times when Arfield's not been getting a huge amount of game time. Hadji, these players come in and out of the team. You don't hear any of them moaning. You don't hear any of them going to the press saying, I'm not happy, I'm not playing. It seems to be quite the opposite. The sort of narrative that comes for these guys is, I need to just apply myself in training and keep working, and then when my opportunity comes, I need to take it. And I think that's a sign of a group of players that trust their manager and have a healthy relationship with their manager. There's no ill feeling when they're not getting game time. They just think, right, well, I just need to work harder. So I think it's the same in the centre-half positions. You know what I mean? I think players just think, the only one that's a certain starter, let's face it, is Goldson. Yeah. He's going to be in there week in, week out, and that's the way it is. For the other 3-4, they just need to accept that they're going to get game time, and then they're not going to get game time. And when they're out of the team, they need to work incredibly hard to get back in it. And then at some point, a player will get injured, or he'll have a bad game, or Gerrard will have a change of mind in how he wants to approach a game, and they'll get their opportunity. And that's it. And it seems to me that the players are accepting that. I don't see too many, or I certainly don't get an impression that too many, if any, of that current Rangers squad are unhappy.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. You make a very good point, I think, about Balogun versus Hollander, that Hollander is probably the more capable centre-half. And I think he's probably the smarter player.
Yeah.
He is. But Balogun has the pace. And I love a pacey centre-half is excellent to see. And he does recover incredibly well. We've seen that a number of times where he's behind his man, but he still comes back and makes a last-ditch tackle. it's an interesting one with Balogun, because I'm just looking at his career stats here. So he's played, according to this, 17 league games for Rangers. But everywhere else that he's never been a stalwart in the team. So the most appearances he's ever had for a club was when he was at Mainz in Germany, and he played 52 times. That was over a period of 3 years. So that's still not even playing every other game. Yeah. It's as if he's never really settled anywhere, I think, and had a starting impact. And he's played for Nigeria 32 times. But, I mean, that places Nigeria as the second team that he's played the most for. So it's a really interesting one that he's kind of flitted around a lot in his career. I don't know. I expect,
but you would have to say that's good recruitment, though. You would have to say that comes down to maybe Ross Wilson and Gerrard and Michael Beale and all others in that squad, identifying players who maybe that don't look like they're going to get a huge amount of game time, but they're saying, no, you know what? If we bring this guy in and we develop him, he'll do a job for us. And don't want to go on about Scott Wright again, but he's another example. I don't think any of us really knew who that boy was.
No.
Right? And every game that he's played for Rangers, when you're trolling through social media and when I'm speaking to other Rangers fans, all of them are saying, that's right. Mm-hmm. What player we found? You know what I mean? So it comes down to identifying the player and thinking, you know what, maybe people don't see a huge amount in that player right now, but if we bring him in and get him in the ways that we play and get him up to speed, he will do a job within this team. My son always goes on to me about Andy Robertson, right? Why he doesn't play so well with Scotland as he does with Liverpool. And I'm not going down on Andy Robertson. I don't want to play him down, but I think Andy Robertson fits into that Liverpool system.
Yeah.
I don't think Andy Robertson is necessarily a world-class left-back. I think Klopp identified him as, you know what, he's the type of player that will fit into my system the way I want to play. And it makes him look a better player than maybe he actually is, if you know what I mean. And again, I don't want to sort of play down what Andy Robertson does. He's a great player. But I don't think he's a world-class left-back. And I think you see that when he plays in any other team other than Liverpool, because he doesn't have the same players around him and he doesn't do the same job. You know what I mean? He fits into that system perfectly. And I think that's the sort of thing that maybe that's happened with Scott Wright and maybe with Balogun. It's Rangers have identified these guys and thought, you know what, no one really thinks that this person will do a job, but we'll take them and we'll make them do a job and they'll fit into our team well. And you have to say the recruitment since Ross Wilson's arrived at the club has been impressive. You know what I mean? There's no one came in the door and you thought, that's a great signing. A couple of them are like, who's that? And then they turn out to be, you know, I mean, you just need to look where we are. You know, we're 20 odd points clear in the league and only conceded X amount of goals. Everything that Rangers have done in terms of recruitment over the last couple of years has been top notch. And It's been players that not a huge amount of people would have went, yeah, we'll have them.
Well, it's funny. I said the exact same thing to my old man today about Scott Wright, was that this is a boy who, if you look at output and numbers and stats and metrics, not doing a great deal at Aberdeen.
Yeah.
You know, goals and assists, not really anywhere. A lot of time out injured. And I don't particularly, until the game that we played against them when everyone knew that we were signing him, I remember him then. But I don't really remember him. I don't remember him at all playing against us or watching school or anything like that. So that shows, I mean, firstly, it shows I could never be a scout, because I would never look at that boy and think he'll fit in. He's not playing right. He's not playing in the right system. He's not playing in the right style of team at the moment. But if we pluck him and put him in this style of team, it will set him alight. And it has done. I mean, whether that's Ross Wilson or Andy Scolding or whichever scout it was that's picked this boy out, it shows the sort of craft of scouting.
There is an act to scouting, and there is a sort of the one that I always remember, and I hate to talk about Paul Lambert because obviously he's a Celtic man and all the rest of it, but he played twice against Borussia Dortmund for Motherwell. I think it was in the UEFA Cup. They took him like that. Right, and see, the minute he signed for them, I can remember saying to a couple of mates going, what are they seeing that none of us can see? I don't even think Paul Lambert was an international at the time. You know what I mean? It was just like, he's got Rangers and Celtic on his doorstep. He's been playing for Motherwell for Christ knows how many years, and no one's been that interested in him. Yeah. Borussia Dortmund play against him twice, and they're like, we'll have him, thank you very much. what are they seeing that we don't see? So there is an act to it. You know what I mean? People just say you just turn up and pick the best players. It doesn't really work like that. You know what I mean? You have to have an in-depth knowledge, and you have to see something in a player you think, well, he'll fit in with the system that we're operating, and it'll make him a better player, and it'll make us a better team.
Yeah.
And I don't think any Rangers supporter, maybe one or two, but I don't think any Rangers supporter would have identified Scott Wright as a potential signing.
No. You could argue that what happened with Paul Lambert, we've done the same with Borna. You know, we played against Osijek.
Yeah.
And again, I don't particularly remember. I mean, I know that Borna scored against us, and so people were saying we're signing him because he scored. I'm sure he scored, but I don't particularly remember him as a player. And I imagine that because that was a reasonably new management team at that time. I reckon they've looked at him and gone, "That's the complement to Tav on the right. That's the kind of fullback that we need." A fair play to them, because that's worked out to Croatia's starting left back. You know.
To go on about Andy Robertson again, it was the same when we played against him in the 3rd division.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't until he signed with Hull and Liverpool, I was like, actually, we played against this guy. We played against him when he was with Queen's Park, and I'm looking back through all the games, and he's definitely there. Can't remember him. You know what I mean? And so there is, you know, I'm sure some people in you know, Hampden and Ibrox, when we played against Queen's Park and Andy Robertson were playing, maybe some guys saw something, but I certainly didn't. You know, all I saw was Lee Wallace. I thought it's the best left back in Scotland. You know what I mean? Whereas you've got Andy Robertson doing what he was doing, but someone seen something in him, took him to Dundee United, then he's went to Hull and then went to Liverpool. So it's a skill and it's a knack, and there's not many people have it, I don't think, but Ross Wilson does, or it would appear that he does.
So to sum that conversation up, Leon Balogun's okay.
Pretty much, yeah.
Right,
he'll need to accept that he's not going to get a game every week.
No,
and Hollander's the better defender.
So he's had a career of accepting that he's not getting a game every week. He's not had a career of winning titles everywhere he goes. So I think
this is true.
Happy enough, you know. Before we finish, just to pick up on the COVID situation with Rangers. Obviously, the sanction came out earlier this week. The 5 players were getting 6-game bans. And Rangers have gone on to appeal that, which obviously was allowed Patterson to play today, allowed Calvin Bassey to play today. I think Zungu had a wee injury, so he wasn't playing. But the situation is under appeal now. To me, 6 games, I think it's harsh. I understand that yes, this is not. You know, we're far enough down the line with COVID that the players should have known better. I think the reporting of this as, you know, the partying Rangers players, I think is unfair, because by all accounts, this was them getting together just with them, maybe their partners, having some pizza and watching the UFC or something. So party, not sure. 6 games seems a bit much to me. Do you expect there to be any kind of positive outcome from this appeal? Or do you think, in a way, it might have been a tactical thing to ensure that whilst Tavernier was still injured, we can have appropriate cover at right back?
I think it's a bit of both, but I do think Rangers need to get some answers on this, because the inconsistencies that have been sort of evident when it comes to punishment relating to COVID stuff. You know, did Celtic get any punishment for Dubai?
No, because no. I think that, I mean, I don't know if there's been any investigation into it, but I think the line that you would get from the SFA is no evidence of rule breaking. Everything that they did in Dubai was legal in terms of Dubai's laws as they exist.
No, but I mean that's fair enough if that's SFA's line, but it's hard to take that at face value when John Kennedy himself said, "Yeah,
we slipped up.
We broke some COVID rules."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they were also allowed to play Shane Duffy when he took a separate flight home and all this kind of thing. And then you've had was it St Mirren and Kilmarnock? I mean, Alex spoke about this on Friday. They got punishments related to COVID infringements. They appealed it on the back of the Dubai stuff, and then they were let off. So there's no consistency in this. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you know, the players are guilty. All being right on this, all being fair and consistent on this, then I would be just accepting the 6-game ban. But I think Rangers are right to appeal it, and I think we're right to ask some big questions about how these bans are worked and why the lack of consistency in certain things. Do I think it'll end well for us? Probably not. No, I don't think so. I think the players will maybe get a couple of games taken off. I don't know, but it'll not be enough. I'll be surprised if we see them again this season. Put it that way. But I mean, don't get me wrong. The players involved are stupid. They've only got themselves to blame. But that doesn't detract from the fact there are some serious questions in terms of punishments for COVID and who's getting them and who's not. And I think part of me thinks that's why Rangers have appealed. I think part of it was to get players available for today, but I also think they want some questions answered because it's not right. Biggest issue with the bans, of course, is it'll probably be Balogun at right back against Celtic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he did struggle. I mean, Tav. So the reports now, Tav is sort of training on grass, but training by himself. In 2 weeks, that's going to be a gamble. I can't see him be ready for 2 weeks. I'll be very surprised if I actually see him this season. I think he might make a substitution appearance in the last 5 minutes against Aberdeen. To come on and get the trophy. I think, for all intents and purposes, his season's finished. So when any luck, there'll be a clearer situation with Ryan Jack. You know, and what's going on with him. He's an option for right back, but yeah, that's probably the only concern going into this game against Celtic. You know, the ban on Patterson causes the problem. Yeah, good point. I mean, you say that we'll probably not see them for the rest of the season, but 5 games left in the league, 4 games left in the Scottish Cup, plenty of time.
Maybe. It all depends. 1 game at a time, Ross. Come on. If Mr. Gerrard has told us anything, it's 1 game at a time. So we have 5 league games and 1 Scottish Cup game.
Right. Fair enough. Listen, that sort of takes us very, very close to the hour. I think that's probably enough chat, considering it was just the 1 game this week. So a massive thank you to Colin for giving up a Sunday evening to come and chat away with me this afternoon. And a massive thank you as well to everyone who's been getting involved in the live stream and giving us their comments and thoughts on today's game. The show will, of course, be back over the coming week. We will have a preview show on Friday looking ahead to the Hibs game, and then a main show next Sunday evening, 9:30 PM on YouTube Live as well, with the show available for download the following Monday. The other thing to say is please do head over to the website at www.gersnet.co.uk, check out the excellent content that we have here, and please do support our partners over at footballprizes.co.uk. As we're saying at the moment, please do stay safe in these times of COVID. The world is starting to open up, so let's stay safe with that and stay responsible. Thank you very, very much for joining us, and have a great week.